thanks, Michael, for the introduction. I'm Nicholas Trieb. I'm the COO at TourRadar, and I'll be explaining in some practical examples of how we use the AARRR model to try to improve our conversion rates and optimize our conversions. So, has anybody ever actually heard of TourRadar before? Anyone? A couple of you. So what we do is we sell multi-day tours. We're a marketplace where we connect the traveler with the operator. You might not even know what a multi-day tour is, but imagine like a 7-day safari through Namibia, or a 10-day hike up Kilimanjaro, or a 20-day bus tour through Europe. Generally, what it does, it has accommodation, the transport, and a guide that guides you through the entire tour. So we sell about 20,000 tours in 200 different countries in the world, and work with about 500 different operators. Now, has anybody ever heard of the AARRR model? A couple of you? So it's a model that was defined by Steve McClary from 500 Startups. And what it does is it tries to divide the funnel up into 5 stages. One is the acquisition, the activation, the retention, the referral, and the revenue. At the acquisition side, you look at all the different various channels that you can acquire the customer from. At the activation side, you look at how can you activate them with some type of a micro-conversion to get their email address, for example. Then retention is how do you get that user back to your page. Referral is how do you get the friends, get them to invite their friends and their families over to your site. And then revenue is how do you actually monetize the customer. Now, a lot of people think the funnel looks something like this, but in reality, it looks much more like that. If we look at our own page, as an example, it takes over 60 days on average to actually get a booking in. And in this example, we have a customer who looked at New Zealand, looked at Sydney, Thailand, Nepal, China, and then 60 days later, he actually booked a tour to Indonesia. So it's a very complex funnel that the customer goes through. So what we try to do is we segment it in these 5 different areas and try to understand the customer's mindset in the different stages of the funnel. And then try to identify specific success metrics that help us analyze how well the marketing campaigns are working in that funnel. So if we look at the acquisition side, we're looking at the customer's mindset is more like in the information gathering, researching phase. So what we look at more closely is the bounce rate, the time on site. On the activation side, we try to identify certain micro conversions that would entice the user to give us their email address, for example. And try to then measure what is the conversion rate to that small little micro conversion. On the retention side, how do you get that user back once you have his email address? So a lot of drip campaigns, newsletters, whatever way you can get that user back onto your page, and then looking at the returning customers and trying to analyze with the cohort analysis. On the referral side is getting those people that actually like your page to refer their friends and families. So looking at how many actually refer their friends and how many are actually signing up after they've been referred. And then on the revenue side, the customer already knows what product he has and what he wants to buy, and does he actually feel comfortable enough on your page to actually do the booking on your page instead of on a competitor's page. And here we simply look at the visitor to booking conversion rate. Now, if we look at the acquisition side, we have what we try to do is we test as many channels as possible, and we try to segment each campaign that we have into as much detail that we know about the customer. So the markets, the demographic they're in, and also the regions that we're looking at and the type of pages that we're sending him to. And based on that information, we then are able to analyze in detail how well the different campaigns are actually working. And then what we do is we sift out those campaigns that are actually working based on high volume, high conversion rate, and low costs. So an example of a high volume SEM campaign that we had running is Europe tours. It's basically we had a broad match identifier, meaning a customer was searching for Europe tours, and anything in combination with Europe tours, we would be found and shown on the Google results pages. Now, we ended up having a lot of impressions on Google, a lot of clicks, but we had a super high bounce rate on our page. So after analyzing, we realized that customers, specifically from Australia, were not searching for traveling group tours, but were searching for Bon Jovi Europe tours in 2015. And obviously, since we're not selling concert tickets, we had a huge bounce rate. So by simply negating those in the SEM campaigns, we managed to drastically reduce our acquisition costs and at the same time improve our bounce rate on the page. Facebook, we realized, does not work for us at all when we try to sell our products. Because the main reason is we don't know the customer's intent. With SEM, you know based on the keywords kind of what intent they have, while at Facebook you don't have that information. So what we did is instead of focusing on our product, we started adding campaigns and contests and giveaways, and that really, really worked on Facebook. The difficult thing about the acquisition side is how do you target the customer in Facebook? So how do you find those customers that are interested in your type of products? And the simplest way we did is we just looked at our competitors. Competitors' Facebook pages and Facebook groups, and we simply targeted those users. And there's actually a great tool called Social Lead Freaks. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it, but it's a great tool to get the Facebook IDs of anyone that has ever commented or written or liked a group or a Facebook page, and then you can specifically target those users in the campaigns. Activation. This is all about the landing page. Yeah? You have to understand what the user is expecting when they get to the landing page and try to meet that expectation. It has to be one clear call to action. And the important thing, are there any social proof and trust signals on the page that make the customer feel comfortable on the landing page? And also, what is actually the value proposition that you offer the customer? What is in it for me as a customer to be on your page? And the way we started is we always started with the low-hanging fruits. We looked at the pages that had the highest amount of traffic, and we tried to focus on A/B tests and optimizing the functionality that we already have instead of adding new functionality, because in the end, you have a feature overkill on your landing page. An example of a landing page that we optimized for SEM is we had a landing page for best Africa tours, and we had a campaign though for Africa safari tours. Since the title of the campaign, the title of the ad and the campaign landing page didn't actually coincide with each other, we had a relatively high bounce rate. Now, what we ended up doing is a super easy quick win. We allowed the marketing team simply to pass in a parameter the title of the page, and we would dynamically adjust the title of the page based on what the marketing team has actually entered. And so that means the title of the ad was exactly the same thing as the title of the page. And as a result, we had a drastic reduction in the bounce rate, just simply by changing the title. Then we also extended that to also allow them to filter pages. So filter by a certain type, and then the results would also filter based on the type of the landing page, of the tour they were trying to promote. So not only did we then improve the SEM campaigns, but through the findings and analyzing of the results, we also found out which page actually makes sense for SEO perspective, and then actually created landing pages for SEO for the ones that actually had a high volume traffic. For contest, an example landing page that we have is here, where the key elements are clear value propositions, so you win a tour either to Mexico, Thailand, or Iceland. There's social proof in the sense that you have, there's 24,000 people that actually like this page. And then there's one clear call to action. And with these forms, the most important thing is make it as simple as possible. Users are so fucking lazy that they don't want to enter anything. Just give them one form with the email address. If you want more information, put it as a second step on the second page. But get that email address so you can send it forward, send an email later on and have some information to get them back onto the page. And that brings me to retention. Once you have that email address, you can actually get that email back. What we do is you have the monthly, we used to have a monthly newsletter that was sent out. We simply changed it to a weekly, and boom, we had all of a sudden 15% of our bookings coming in from a newsletter. Don't be afraid to send newsletter to your customers. They don't, like, you won't have a higher unsubscribe rate. We didn't experience it at least. But we ended up just getting much more traffic coming in from the emails. A great tool also is with any micro conversion that you define on your site, do a drip campaign after following it. Don't just, after they sign up or do anything, leave them hanging. Just make sure that you get them engaged and bring them back to your page. And what we simply do is, for example, after the user has gone to a booking page, and if he didn't book, we simply send in an abandoned cart 3 days later, we're trying to remind him, hey, did you book something? Why do you still want to continue with the booking? That small change has drastically increased our conversion from that customer. And then we did the same thing 7 days later. hey, you still haven't booked. Do you still want to continue with the booking? And then 30 days, we add an incentive like, hey, here's a promotion code, here's a 10% sale, a discount, just so you can get that conversion coming into your page. Referral, here, important is that you find those customers that actually had a positive experience on your site and try to incentivize them to invite their friends and family. The important thing is that you don't only incentivize me as the person inviting, but also the friend that he's inviting. So similar to the Dropbox model, what we try to do is we simply said, hey, if you invite your friend gets 50 euros for a booking that they can do. And once the friend books, we would get 50 euros. I would get 50 euros for the booking that he made. And now as a result, we have 15% of our bookings coming in via this referral program. Obviously, it's very important that you look at your customer acquisition cost and your lifetime value to understand, make sure, and make sure adjust your incentive respectively to make sure that it actually makes sense from the business perspective. The other thing that's very important, though, it doesn't always have to be a monetary value. What we do with our contest, as a last step in the contest, we say, hey, increase your chance by winning by simply sharing the contest on Facebook, Twitter, or Google. And in the end, this type of incentive, we have 90% of users sharing it on their social pages after they've entered the contest. And as a result, over 2.5 users sign up additionally to the person that signed up, making it basically a huge viral effect via the contests that we run. And with these contests, over the last 6 months, we managed to get over 500,000 email addresses, which is incredible. Revenue, this is the most important thing, obviously. This is your bread and butter. This is the most important thing, is to focus on the last pages on the furthest down in the funnel and trying to optimize it. Make sure that the booking process is as seamless as possible, as easy as possible for the customer. Use key persuasive elements to persuade the user to use your page. At the same time, don't be afraid to clutter the page. Look at booking.com, it works. It doesn't look great, but it's cluttered, but it makes you feel good. It makes you still want to book on the page. Important is to focus on those questions that the users have and put those answers directly on the page, not hidden, but on the page so it's visible for the users. And try to also provide as many payments options as possible, because it might be a USP in comparison to one of your competitors. And try not to make one big change. Try to make iterative processes so you can actually see the impact of the changes you have and analyze which change actually had a positive impact and which one had a negative impact. We had one great example where we did a huge redesign of our tour detail page, massive change. Then we had added one small feature in our booking page where we allowed the user to enter a promotion code in the middle of, as one of the steps in our booking phase, in the booking page. And in the end, after the release, we had a drastic drop in our conversion rate. And we had no idea why. We thought it was the huge change that we did on the tour detail page. But after about 3 days and hearing from our customer support team, we heard that the customers kept asking, hey, where do I get a promotion code from so that I can use it in the booking page? Because in the end, the user thought he had to put in a promotion code to actually do the booking. So by simply then afterwards moving the promotion code onto the right sidebar, we saw all of a sudden a 20% increase in our conversion rate. So when you look at optimizing the page, always try to look at elements that you can put above the fold. In the sense that adding value propositions, specifically around the call to action. Try to have only one call to action. If you have other call to actions, don't make them as visually visible. And then also add certain social proof elements, such as 10 people are also looking at this page, 15 other people have also booked that. Or adding like how many people like the site, just adding, or testimonials, some type of social proof that they know that they're not the only ones that are using this page. Key persuasive elements such as crossing out and showing a discount, or number of seats that are available, giving them pressure that they have to book now so they don't lose out on the seat. Time is also a great persuasive element, or countdown. Again, reiterating the value propositions around the call to action. Putting a payment option, adding more payment options. We added American Express, and all of a sudden we saw our conversion rate increase only because our competitors weren't offering American Express. All these type of things really have a huge impact. On our tour detail pages, we also added the questions that we were receiving from our customer support team, such as, do I need a vaccination? Do I need a visa for this tour? All this information, the questions that they were asking, we would simply add that information onto the page directly, and all of a sudden we would have a drastic increase in our conversion rate. And again, don't be afraid to reiterate the value propositions, the social proof, the trust elements on the page. It actually helps. It makes the user make sure that he somehow sees that information at any point that they scroll through the page. We had one great revenue-focused campaign where we simply had a one-field form where you would enter the email and we would send you a promotion code. The only element that we added was this time element as a persuasive element, saying, hey, you can use this promotion code, but it's only valid until August 2016, until August 31st. The email was very simple. You get the promotion code and you can enter in the booking. But the key thing is we sent them a reminder email 3 days before the campaign was over. And after this reminder email with the saying, hey, last chance, don't miss the chance, this thing, the last 3 days of the campaign is always where we get a huge boost of bookings coming in. And we do this on a monthly basis now, and it works every single time. So all these things that we tried to focus on led to us to drastically reduce our customer acquisition costs and at the same time improve our conversion rate. Here are some tools that we use on the site. If you guys want it, I can send it through to anybody that's interested. Also some interesting reads. And other than that, that's it from me. Thank you.
Since you said every month you're getting back to your customers and try to get them to book and to convert, do you feel or do you measure that they might learn from this and they wait until the last day so they get some discount?
Yeah, we try to not do it on that regular basis, but we also try to make the campaigns not always at the same time. And we differentiate the campaigns, so we don't always do it to all customers, but do only certain regions and so forth. So we try to not become a discount site, yeah.
Okay, and one more question. Do you, when some tour or product is booked out, do you recommend your customers some alternatives?
Yes, of course, yeah. So what we do is even on the tour detail page, if it says there's no more tours available for that date, we show a link, check out similar tours that leave on the same date.
Thank you for the presentation. Am I right, Speed Invest has a stake in your company?
Yes.
What changed since they come on board? Can you tell us a little bit about?
That was a long time ago when they first came on board, but it helped us basically build up a team, and we're now about 40 people worldwide. We have the office in St. Petersburg, in Australia, and also in Toronto. But they helped us with finding more investors. They helped us grow the team, find team members as well. So they were great help in the initial phase.
Were there things you would do different next time?
Maybe be more specific, because there's a lot of things you could make different in hindsight. From team building to mistakes that we repeatedly do and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we could do differently. But yeah, I don't know which one I should mention now.
Okay, next question. Okay, who wants to ask the next question without the microphone?
Okay.
I tricked you.
What's the difference? I'm very new to TourRadar, so what's the difference between a travel and a tour?
A what?
What's the difference between a travel and a tour? So if you're booking a travel or you're booking a tour, have you to be there, or can you book the flight? Or
yeah, so what we do is, so tour specifically is, we don't include the flight. So when, if you're booking a tour, your 20-day tour through Europe, we generally have Australians that book those, because as Europeans generally you don't book a tour through Europe, you do it yourself. So the Australians book a tour, but they have to book the flight separately. And we only book the tour, and it starts then in London. You leave London, and then you go through Europe, through all the stations, and then end in London again, for example. So ours just includes the tour aspect itself. So, or if you book a Kilimanjaro tour, you have to get to Kilimanjaro yourself, and then from there you get the accommodation and the hike up and the hike down, for example. And then find your way back to where you come from.
How many people do you have in your sales team, and how do you get the people to make the tour? Is it a special company you work with together, or is it all made by yourself?
We work with operators that offer these tours, and our sales team is just we don't actually have to do much sales now. They all come to us already and ask to be on our site. So there's not much that we need to do on the sales side to get the operators on board. Basically, the operators already have them, and you usually book these type of tours directly with an offline travel agency. So if you go to STA Travel, they usually book these things for you. There's just no online solution yet for it, and that's what we're trying to provide.
Do you have something like an inbound marketing for the tour operators?
We don't do that, not really. What we do is we market, when we get an operator on board, we try to get reviews directly on the page, because reviews, we get over 150% increase in conversion rate once one review is on the page. So we try to market previous customers of theirs to try to get reviews and build up the review base on the company of the tours. Yeah.
One more question. So, for example, I go to Thailand in winter. And do I get then like special campaigns on my mobile phone because of the location based, or because I like TourRadar? I liked it on Facebook. Are you able to play special ads or something?
Or
like retargeting, you do this for sure.
Yeah, retargeting we do.
Okay.
On Facebook, we we're trying constantly to see if we can promote products exactly like people liking a country or liking a place that they want to go to, and trying to promote that. But it's very hard to sell, especially our product, because on average it's about 1,500 euros a tour. So it's not a product that everybody books, so it's very hard to promote directly on those channels, unless you're specifically searching for it on like SEM, and then it's a bit easier.
Okay, good. I have one question for you, Nico.
Okay.
So, what would you recommend for someone that is going to start? Like, what is like the first thing that someone should think about when he or she wants to improve the conversion rate? Like, what is the thing you would be thinking about first when you start?
I would look at the one page that has the most traffic and try to optimize that one, and look at why are the reasons they're dropping off, why is the bounce rate high, or is it high, and seeing what type of micro conversion you can find that can trigger an email address somehow, so you can actually get the customer back at a later point, and just look at initially always the one that has the most traffic. Yeah.
Okay. Give Nico a warm thanks.
Thanks.